This station is now the ultimate power in the universe.
This table is really tilted.
Excuse me? Am I gonna get a chance to speak?
Maybe I should take that back.
Denied. Damn, son, where'd you find this?
Take a giant step for mankind.
Welcome to the Tilted Table with your hosts, Sean and Joe.
Folks, welcome to another episode of The Tilted Table, the internet's answer to a question that no one asked. I'm Sean Kabibi.
And I am Joey Joe, the Fracky Mac.
And it's a lovely day at a beautiful 80 degrees in November.
Yes.
That's what's like living in California.
Flip-flops and shorts, baby.
Yeah, it's like, it's a light jacket in the wintertime around here.
Palm trees and ocean waves.
Well, it's, it's living the dream out here.
It's funny. Whenever I won't say I'm addicted to my X news feed, but I do check it 47 times a day. And, politically, I think it's jacked. But living here is absolutely beautiful. I love everything about living in California.
What does that have to do with Twitter?
Well, we don't have to. This is a non-political, et cetera, podcast. And I have very strong thoughts on all of that. And the current administration of the state of California. So we'll just say it's a beautiful place to live.
Wow. I mean, we got a little bit political in the last episode talking about historical revisionism.
Yeah.
See, I got it right this time.
Yes, you did. Yeah. So I have an idea for today's fun episode. And I think you're going to have some fun with this one. Well, I'm going to, before I ask the question, I'm going to preface by saying I am absolutely thrilled that we get to be alive at this point in history. I think where we're at in the quote, the timeline is exciting. It's exhilarating. We get to not just watch the news and watch history unfold. We get to be a part of it. And not like from a very distant vantage point. Like we can actively engage with the people that are making history. And then, we can do what we're doing right now, like two knuckleheads on microphones, creating their own content and commentary. So I think it's absolutely exciting.
Oh, for sure.
That being said, is there a time in history, that you would rather have lived, and or do you ever think that you were born at the wrong moment in time? And the reason I ask this question is so I have a friend who 100% should have been born in like the 1920s, 1930s. It's like everything about this person is amazing, but it's almost like they're just out of time in like what fits their personality and their mentality and their belief system and everything else. And even down to the music they listen to and the shoes that they wear and the things they talk about and the cigarettes they smoke. It's like this individual should have been born at this time. So is there a time? I think you're going to tell me that you wish it was like Renaissance or like ancient Ireland and you had your own clan or something like that.
No, not even close. You don't know me too well, do you?
How about the high steps in Genghis Khan?
No, not even close. I wouldn't want to go back far in history because people didn't have long lives and it was an extremely tough existence. Especially if you weren't born into some kind of privilege. And this isn't anything to do with race. This is about purely economics, and very few people had stuff. And that was a tough life, tough life. You were pretty much bound by wherever you were born. Mm-hmm. So, if you're, let's say, whatever working class would be or something to that equivalent.
Poverty.
You would be raised on some kind of farm where you would, work the land and you just lived with your family and you probably never went more than a couple miles away from that spot. Mm-hmm. And it was tough and then it got worse. And then, even basic illnesses became life-threatening and you probably died a miserable death at a very young age. Yeah, fuck that. Movies have lied to you about like adventures and all this bullshit about
you wouldn't want to be a sailor on an ancient Spanish galleon.
I think again, movies lied about what that was like. I'm sure that was absolutely miserable. I'm sure the death, the likelihood of death was extremely high.
They weren't just singing sea shanties and getting drunk on rum and looking for treasure.
Right. No, I don't think that's what they were doing. No, I wouldn't want to live it during that time. I mean, everybody's going to be colored by, I think, what they know. And I think that there's the time period. I think, first of all, I think I was born at the right time because I was raised in the 80s and I became an adult in the 90s. And I think it was a sweet spot where, people were getting along really, really well. I think, relations amongst people were generally pretty good. Times seemed to be pretty good. I know some adults might argue with me that it was, not the glorious 80s and 90s. I mean, there's some rough spots in the 90s. But generally speaking, it seemed like America was hitting a peak. And I think that was a good time to be alive. I think if I could, maybe rewind it a couple of years, so I could have been an adult in the 80s. That seemed like a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
But I think pretty much I'm in the right time frame. The only other time period I think would have been super cool would have been the 1920s. Those roaring 20s.
And what about that? Are you talking about like Al Capone's type 20s? Or are you talking about big band Copacabana type 20s?
Yeah, I'm thinking more Copacabana, speakeasies. Obviously, alcohol was against the law during that time.
Mm-hmm. See, the other thing I thought you were going to say is like feudal Japan.
No, and largely because I'm not really sure I know that much about feudal Japan. But there was an emperor. That seems like an oppressive society.
Oh, I don't think any more than any other point in history of like pharaohs or kings or Caesars or anything like that. There's always going to be the leader.
Yeah, but again, I wouldn't want to go back to those times, and life was fucking miserable for most people.
What if you had a samurai sword, though?
That's not going to make a difference. Not if I don't have food on my table.
But what if you were a samurai?
Well, if I was a samurai, it's a different story.
Right? I think just even saying the phrase, if I was a samurai, like that, you just leveled up.
Yeah, well, what percentage of people were samurais?
It was a small percentage, but I mean, that was a chosen / bred profession. I don't know. I think it goes back to, let me rephrase that. It doesn't go back. It shares like the same kind of knighthood, chivalry culture, loyalty to your leader in your country, kind of like the special forces type of their military. I think I love looking at old Japanese artwork of samurais and some of their battles. I think it's very inspiring.
Maybe not a time period I'd want to be in.
What about if you were there for the invention of the karate kick?
When was that invented?
I don't know. It was probably some Egyptian person did it back in
some caveman did that shit.
So let me rephrase it. You have now, since you don't want to, you have to live in a different time period. Which one would it be?
Like maybe the 20s, but I don't mean you have to go back further than that.
Yeah. It can't be quote postmodern.
I'd say colonial times.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that would be cool.
Would you have a musket?
I would have a musket and a farm.
Would you have a trike?
And I'd have 2 daughters that I would shoot people if they got near them. That's not how that works.
You'd be the proverbial dude on the porch with the rocking chair.
Yes, of course.
And you would have both a musket and a blunderbuss.
What is a blunderbuss?
Bro. Okay, so the blunderbuss was...
Don't give me shit about the blunderbuss. You didn't know about the Outsiders.
It is a gun with kind of a trumpet-style barrel, and it didn't have ammunition per se. It was black powder, and you would pack the barrel full of like nails, shards of metal, just a bunch of random garbage.
Straight shrapnel.
Yes, and it was basically a shrapnel cannon that was called, and it had a flintlock firing mechanism, and it was called the blunderbuss. So think of it as the precursor to the shotgun.
Yeah, I was gonna say it just sounds like a shotgun to me. Yeah, you don't have to aim.
Yeah, you just pack it full of trash.
Right? What a weapon to have. Just to be able to, just shoot in the general direction of somebody and waste them.
Mm-hmm. You don't think there's anything exciting though about like the adventuresome spirit of like of previous generations? And I don't mean like in the 20s. I think of like the Portuguese explorers like Vasco da Gama that are setting sail to find the new world. I think that's exciting. I mean, yes, very difficult, painful, brutal, nihilistic. very exciting.
Well, I don't know. Again, I guess it would be the equivalent of being an astronaut. You know, I don't think I ever wanted to be an astronaut. So maybe that lifestyle wouldn't have appealed to me.
Or like and having a sense of adventure. There's not, because we live in the times that we do, there isn't, I don't know. I mean, correct. I know I'm wrong, but where is the sense of adventure? You have to create it. And it's kind of limited. Like, oh, I'm going to adventure and go find the top of Everest. Yeah. So did a bunch of other people. Like, knock yourself out and put it out on your resume. But there's not things that go and explore that people haven't done other than, say, you know, free dive the Mariana Trench.
Yeah, there's parts of the ocean that people have never explored. I mean, I wouldn't want to go that deep.
No.
What happened to the submersible, the Titan? I ain't trying to go that deep.
Mm-mm.
Right?
Man, that was rough. I mean, well, building a submarine out of carbon fiber, something that's brittle and doesn't even have the specs for that kind of pressure.
Yeah, I think, you know, there's a YouTube channel that I watch, and well, there's several of them that do this, but there's one in particular, I can't remember the name of it, but the guy goes to all these just, you know, kind of desolate places all over the United States, and uses a drone to fly in canyons and areas that are extremely difficult to access, and I find that to be fascinating.
That would be, yeah.
But he went to a junkyard, and I can't remember where it was. I want to say it was maybe in the Mojave Desert or something, but it's just thousands and thousands of like old classic cars from like the 1920s, 30s, and 40s. And yeah, just explores around and does stuff like that. But yeah, his drone videos are pretty cool. You know,
that is really cool. Do you remember the name of the channel?
No, I want to say it's like Jake's Travels or something. But I watched so many of these over a short period of time. Again, you go down that rabbit hole. I can't remember. I can find it though because it pops up constantly on my recommendations. But what's kind of cool about it is he'll fly these drones, and I mean he's flying in, you know, just these remote canyons, and I mean it's just. I don't even know how you would access it as a human. And what's funny about it is like you'll see like a car, you know, at the bottom of some ravine, and it's just, you know, rusted out car, and like, oh wow. Well, like one time he found he saw like a blue barrel, like you know, one of those big 50-gallon drums in the middle of some canyon, and he's like, I'm gonna go down there, I want to see what's in that drum, like, you know, and of course it's anticipation that there's a body in there or something like that. Yeah. So no, it was nothing. It was absolutely nothing. Yeah, I think that stuff like that is cool. So yeah, a sense of adventure. Maybe there's part of me that does. I honestly just don't know exactly where I would want to go. And I guess back in those days when the Earth was still relatively unexplored, yeah, maybe I would have.
Well, I guess other than space and the ocean, I think the final frontier is the human brain, right? So you could and I'm not a huge Timothy Leary fan or anything like that, but then there's that whole aspect, right? Like go inward. If you can't go outward, go inward. And what do they call them? Psychonauts?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I'm not saying I think it's bullshit, but I think it's a little more overblown. Especially with, Tim Leary. And I mean, a lot of it had to do with like drug use and, trying to expand your mind. And I'm just like, nah, you're just fucking high, dude. But I may be being very pessimistic about it. I'm not saying there's no value to it, but that's the way it comes across to me. Especially when I was younger, I started playing guitar. There was that kind of myth that, you couldn't reach certain levels of expression or art unless you got to those
some kind of altered state.
Yeah, and so we would dose acid and play guitar, thinking that we're going to come up with something that's revolutionary. And what I discovered was it's hard as fuck to play guitar when you're on acid.
Well, isn't that the quick side note on that one is the first album to ever go platinum? Do you know what it is?
No.
It was let me real quick. What era do you think it's from? So first record to ever sell 1 million copies was from what time period?
Well, okay, so using deductive reasoning, I'm going to assume it starts with the height of popular music. So that would have been the 50s. So I'm going to say in the 60s is when somebody finally hit a platinum record.
Yep. Okay. So before going into the recording studio.
Oh, I think, is it the Beatles? Has to be the Beatles, right?
No,
not
the Beatles. Before going into the recording studio, the band got together for lunch, ate a whole ton of mushrooms, drank a couple boxes of wine, not bottles of wine, boxes of wine.
Classy.
And they picked up their instruments, fired up their recording equipment, and their Magnus Opum.
Oh, I think I know what it is. Go ahead.
In the Garden of Eden
Okay.
was then slurred into Inagata Devita.
Okay, I wasn't thinking.
So
Iron
to your
Butterfly.
point of like dosing acid and like making music, there's a perfect example. In the Garden of Eden became a cultural, a watershed moment of Inagata Devita.
Yeah, Iron Butterfly. So, so when you started talking about drugs, initially my first thought was the Beach Boys, because they did a bunch of drugs when they did Pet Sounds, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I would have actually guessed the Beach Boys.
That was a great album, though.
Oh yeah, it's classic. Yeah, Iron Butterfly. Do you know what? I think it's the drummer. It was one of the members of the band. Eventually, after the band folded, he became some engineer for NASA, and he just disappeared.
Yeah.
And apparently, he had all kinds of like phone calls and like telling people about conspiracies, and so yeah, a lot of people think that he knew something, man. Right?
With some bad acid or bad mushrooms, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's what he's probably on. That makes him think there's a conspiracy going on.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please?
Leave a like on the video. I know you're enjoying this. Can you shut up?
The internet's answer to a question that was never asked. The Tilted Table with Sean and Joe.
But it's pretty wild that there's that much great music, especially from that time period, that was created with people being in that kind of altered state of mind. Because yeah, my younger days, if that was the case, there was definitely no critical thinking that was involved. It was very of the moment.
Yeah, well,
trying to maintain.
I guess one way to look at it, and I think sometimes I sound like I'm real critical of music in general, and I seem to shit on the genius of artists. And I think that, like, the idea that these guys did a bunch of drugs and they wrote Inagata Devita, and that somehow the drugs were the reason for it or whatever, and they reached some level of artistic, and inspiration. I don't know. It just seems like bullshit to me, because it's just a fucking song. And frankly, it's not that great of a song. And I'm not shitting on, it's not a bad song. But the thing is that was during a time period where a lot of bands were getting hit songs because music was still, I would say rock and roll was still new.
Yep.
So yeah, a lot of people were getting massive records.
It was the first track of that era that was so different than all of the rest that it became a hit just because of the level of being different.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and I think over time, when new bands come out and they refine the art form, there's a lot of bands in the 80s into the 90s into the 2000s, I think, wrote songs that are 1,000 times better than Inagata Devita. It's just that that song didn't come out in the 60s. Right. Does that make sense?
Well, it also proves that if you wear enough paisley, anything can go platinum.
Right. Mm-hmm. See, it's the same argument I've used for years of why Michael Jordan is the greatest basketball player and always will be against like LeBron James. And my argument is, you can talk about stats and all that stuff, but the thing is that Michael Jordan was the guy at the right time and made, basketball from an American, obsession to a global obsession. You can't take something worldwide and then repeat it. So LeBron can break every record on the planet. He can smash Michael Jordan in every conceivable way, but he didn't make the sport go global.
Correct.
Yeah, so that's why Jordan will always be the greatest. Not because he is the greatest basketball player, but he's the one that made it global. And that makes him the most iconic person to ever play the game. It's the same argument you can make about Babe Ruth. I mean, Babe Ruth, everyone's busted his records, but he's still fucking Babe Ruth. Before Babe Ruth, baseball was an American phenomenon. And then once he came around, he turned it into a global phenomenon.
Yep.
Yeah, so you can't be repeated. So the idea that like Inagata Devita is this iconic song, and it will be probably on top of every other song written or all these other songs that are written that I think are actually way better. But again, you can't make something global and then repeat that.
So in sum, what I hear you saying is, if you were to live in some future feudal society where different cultures battle it out through bands and musical performances.
What is
the look on your face?
So I almost hate talking about music. I almost hate talking about this shit. Oh shit, you all right over there?
Oh man, I am glad I woke up today.
See, this is why I don't like this conversation. It just goes off the rails.
Okay, and I'm back.
Yeah. Well, I'll pose a question that I don't think you can answer. What is this the single greatest song ever written? And let's say rock and roll. And let's keep it in a genre. Is that even possible to even nail down?
No.
And yeah, I think it's an impossibility, right? I mean, again, you look at these iconic songs that people swear is just like constructed perfectly. It's the lyrics are everything's perfect and in every way. People are going to have a different opinion. I do remember reading an article. I don't think it was in Rolling Stone where they tried to nail down the most perfectly developed song. And I don't think they were trying to say it's the greatest song ever, but in terms of across the board, musically, lyrically, vibe, everything, this is the most perfectly constructed song. You want to take a guess about which one it was?
Lenny Kravitz, American Woman.
No, it's not even his song. How dare you? I'll give you a hint. It came from the 90s. He's a one-hit wonder, so it's the only hit song he ever had, and it's an R&B song.
Sir Mix-a-Lot, Baby Got Back.
That's a rap song. Doesn't count. Although that is a good song. You're in there. You're getting closer to the time frame.
Casey and JoJo type of a thing.
I would say he falls into that category.
Okay.
Yeah. Want me to give you another hint?
Yeah.
It still may not help you. The first name of the artist, his name's Mark.
Oh.
See, I don't think it's gonna help you because I know you know the song, but I bet you may not even know who the artist is.
Who is it?
It's Mark Morrison's "Return of the Mac."
Dude, I don't. Okay, that is literally my top 5 songs of all time. I have like 17 different versions of that on my phone. I've got different remixes, house versions. Like, if you were to say at my funeral, what song do I want to have played? It's "Return of the Mac."
I should have told you this. I should have said the first. The first word in the title is "return." I bet you.
Yes, I would have totally got that one then.
Yeah.
That was really. They said that's the most perfect.
They said it was the most perfectly constructed song, lyrically, musically, and the vibe.
Man,
that you couldn't create a more perfect song.
I think of any song I've ever listened to, which is lots. That is the song I've listened to most in my entire life.
Okay.
Return of the Mac.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it would be impossible to discern this because, I'll give you an example. My all-time favorite album is Operation Mindcrime from Queensryche. And I say it's my favorite album, and I struggle that one up against Appetite for Destruction. And so even saying that's my favorite album, I'm still kind of on the fence about that sometimes. And collectively, as an album, it's flawless, but I couldn't actually tell you that as individual songs, any of those songs are my favorite song. There are some songs on there that would definitely be top 5, but it's an interesting thing to say that this is your all-time favorite album, yet you can't pinpoint a specific song on that album that you would say is your favorite song, or you say top 1 or 2. So, when you try to eat, again, can you imagine? I'm just dealing with, rock and roll. I'm not even dealing with, the whole concept of music. It's impossible really to discern, the greatest song ever written. I mean, I've heard people say that, Bohemian Rhapsody is the greatest song ever written.
Yeah, I don't agree with that.
Yeah, and I don't agree with that either.
I know I don't want to go down this rabbit trail too much because we talked about this on a previous episode.
Oh, did we?
But no, not this specifically. But so AI music. I am deep, probably a month long on just all kinds of genres. I am in creating my own music. I think there's a lot of great things about what these channels are doing, but it really shines a light on how well some of these songs are written. That you can take whatever the genre is, heavy metal, Britney Spears, you name it, and then create like a 40s jazz, 50s, 60s doo-wop, 70s soul music with the same song, same lyrics, and how the writing shines every single time. So it was, even though the original song like has its own great character and blah 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 and all the fun stuff, is the writing is great.
Yeah,
and I really think that's cool.
Yeah, I'm not so impressed by that, just because you can take any song and do it in any genre. There's a whole channel where I don't I think this is prior to AI, so I don't think this is AI. I'm sure AI is doing it now, but it was just these guys that would do old school crooner versions of every song. So it didn't matter if it was a heavy metal song or a pop song. They'd sit there and they would do straight up old school crooner style like Sinatra, and they all sound fucking cool.
Yeah.
But you got some guy doing like like a virgin, and they're doing it crooner style, and it's hilarious, and it sounds good.
It sounds great.
Yeah. So you can do that with any song. So I'm not super impressed by that. Although I think part of the thing is, coming from a musician's point of view, not to knock popular music. Most of it rehashing the same chords and structures are pretty similar, so it's not hard to transfer these things back and forth and do them different ways. So AI I think is going to be able to put anything into any genre and give you that sense. And it does show you the songs are constructed well and they're well written.
Well, like starting with the theme of this episode and and the time, time to be alive. I think
I was about to say, what was the theme of this?
But what's a really, really impressive also is just like with this topic of AI music, how for the first time really in internet history, the average person can watch something basically breed online.
Yeah.
Where these songs, like you go on YouTube and like there's like one channel just pops in the head. It's called Fake Music Lab. It's great. Check it out. But you're watching things that get published, and normally it'll be like, oh, this episode of whatever, or this song or whatever it is on YouTube, was a year ago, 2 years ago. It's got 15 million views or whatever. With AI music, you're seeing just massive amounts of content that you look and it says created 1 hour ago. And it's not just like one channel doing one thing, right? It's tons of channels just multiplying and multiplying and multiplying. And the content is all great. And it's almost hard being an aficionado of this kind of stuff, just trying to keep up with it, because I want to listen to all of it.
Right.
So, I love that we get to be alive at this point in history and to watch and hear and listen and see not just a musical revolution, but a technological revolution.
Yeah, my issue with all this stuff is ultimately it's just going to degrade music down. I shouldn't say that, because, again, music is just music. If you like what you're listening to, it doesn't matter if it was created by humans or not. I see that point, but I think ultimately, one of the kind of cool things about music is just not the music itself. It's the people that made the music. There's no more rock stars. There's going to be no more pop stars, and everything is going to become fairly disposable. And then there's the larger question of value. What value does it have if a machine put it together 5 minutes ago?
I disagree with that. So, like, one of the things I'm going to be doing literally in the next 2 hours is I enjoy writing music. And I say writing, I have a vision. I know what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
I know the themes. I don't understand how to put a bridge together or to get my stanzas to line up or where a chorus would go well, or I don't understand that.
Mm-hmm.
I know I could learn it eventually, and I don't think even though I might learn it, I'll ever be good. However, with, I use Grok. I do use Grok to write music, and I will come up with a theme. So, like, one of my all-time favorite movies is The Matrix.
Mm-hmm.
What if I could design a track that centers around the visual imagery of The Matrix and set it to like trap music with certain bass hooks and everything else? So I can design the song for me and have it write the song in 1 minute. And then I can use other AI tools to use what my vision is to realize my own vision. And whether somebody listens to it or not doesn't matter, because I am the listener. I think that's exciting.
Yeah.
And that brings music to people like myself that I can't sing. I don't know how to play any musical instruments. I don't remember the lyrics to any song, but I have vision and I know what I'm looking for. And some of the tracks I've created are just absolute bangers. And the only way that ever is able to happen is with these AI tools.
Yeah, I just come from a different perspective. But of course, I started playing music before any of this stuff existed. Now, if I started playing music after, maybe I would be more into it. Yeah, I think that one of the things that drew me to music was just not the music, it was also the people. And this may sound old, and I don't care if it does, but the idea that when you bought an album, it wasn't just about a song. It wasn't about a particular hit song you heard on the radio. They were, to me, like books. They had covers, and you opened it up and you had all these liner notes, and you read about the musicians, and you sort of fall in love with particular member of the band, like this guy's the most awesome singer, guitar player, bass, whatever it is. And I think that enhanced the music, because the music's great, but what enhanced it a lot was the people that created it, and those people became synonymous with their own music, and they became almost as big as their music. And I think that's lost.
I think so. Again, I've spent more than anybody I know on this topic on creating AI music and creating. I love creating the cover art for my music, and having tools like I don't use ChatGPT. Whatever.
I see what you're saying, because you're still creating it.
I can go find. So I have very strong thematic elements. So you could listen to a couple of my tracks and be like, oh yeah, this is totally something up Joe's alley.
Right.
And I could put together an album that has great liner notes, great creative artwork that goes along with it. And you would know that that's something that I came up with.
Yeah.
I wasn't the writer, I wasn't the singer or anything, but I was the ultimate creator.
Yeah, and that's what AI is really supposed to be used for. It's a tool. So, but I do understand the idea that you are creating it and you're having a machine get you from point A to point B, which I think is fine. It's not like you're just hitting a button and having everything created with no input, and then just putting it together and saying, well, here's my album. Obviously you are the architect behind it. I just think that to a certain extent that it's just not going to carry as much weight, but that's just a personal opinion. But it is a tool. And again, if I was doing music today and I just started doing it, if I was a kid, in this day and age, I would totally be using it. I know I would be using it. The same way you're using it. Yeah.
So I could see you doing like an album that's like the theme of like a dystopian feudal samurai landscape.
Yeah, not quite. What it's interesting is I think of musicians that hate this stuff. I think it's a little bit of maybe I don't know what the word would be, but there's a certain type of you didn't put in the work, you didn't pay your dues, and
I understand that.
There's a guitar player sitting around right now saying, listening to some AI kid or whatever put together a song and say like, oh, it took me 4 years of practice to be able to get to a point, I could be able to write a song, and studying music and then of course emoting my feelings and putting my soul into this thing. And I don't think you did any of that. And so because I went through all of this fucking torture to get to that point, and then you just pump something out, they're just not going to give it any credit. But again, it's all perspective. I don't see it as a negative. I see it as a positive. When I talk negatively about AI music, I'm really referring to the fact that those days of, let's say I'll use Elvis Presley, coming out, and he was a rock star. He was massive, and it wasn't just his music, it was the him as well. And I think that adds an extra dimension that I just don't think it's going to exist anymore.
So on that note, I think you really just look at like what are the biggest, say, music festivals in the world. And it really centers back on, like, say, electronic music and DJs presenting music and visuals more of an experience.
Yeah.
Than here's an artist up on the stage doing their thing. Yeah. So I think we're kind of in this transitional mode from having individual acts, like people creating the music, to people performing background supporting material.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of where it's going right now. Popular music is pretty much in that vein.
Mm-hmm. And I think and I totally understand the artistic piece. I wish I could play music and learn instruments. And the example is like, the one thing I don't know that you know about me is I love Kenny G. I love all of Kenny G's albums. I've been listening to him since Duotones came out. Was that 1984? I'm severely asthmatic. and it is not physically possible for me to learn how to play the clarinet or learn how to play the sax. I tried, it doesn't work. And I do like incorporating big horns into my music. So to the person that has slaved for decades to become a great horn player, I get it, man. It's just no matter how much I want to, that could never happen for me.
Right. No, I understand that totally. Sure.
But I have that appreciation, and I'll incorporate parts of that craft into what I'm doing to create my own piece. So yeah, I get it. I think it's special for all of us though to have an artistic streak and to be able to have vision, and it's really exciting to create something. So in that spirit of having an adventuresome outlook, I think art is a new horizon.
Yeah, it's definitely opened up the gate for everybody to be able to express themselves, and I think that's always a good thing. I think the big downside, and maybe this is the conclusion I'm coming to, is not so much, I'm not really into the whole like, well, you didn't spend any real time. I kind of understand that argument, and I can sympathize with it because obviously I went through the old school route of learning all these instruments and writing songs. I think, my end point is I think the problem with AI ultimately will be just saturation. And when there's millions and millions of things coming out constantly, it's just no one's going to gravitate towards anything. And that's to me, I think that's a massive loss.
I think you're 100% correct. I think what's going to happen is stylistically is what people are going to move towards. It's not going to be a song or an album or even a subgenre. It's going to be like I'm going to use a really, really broad brush, electronic music.
Yeah,
right.
I see what you're saying.
Things will just head in a certain direction.
Yeah, and then you can play any of it, and it all sounds good because it's all in that same vein, and people will dig it. They don't care about the artist or the song itself.
And most of these new tracks, like, I'm a pretty voracious consumer of this content, and I have no idea, even though I listen to it all the time, I have no idea who does it, but I know what I like.
Yeah.
I have an important announcement for you, so stay tuned.
Yo, that's some next level shit, bruh.
So you got me. Big deal.
The internet's answer to a question no one asked. The Tilted Table with Sean and Joe.
Folks, thank you for tuning in to another episode of The Tilted Table, the internet's answer to a question that no one asked. I am Sean Kabibi.
And I am Joey Joe, the Fracky Mac.
And you can catch us on all major social media platforms at The Tilted Table 1.
That's a fact, man. And when you do get creative, feel free to wear a beret and sunglasses even when you're inside. Peace.